and conditions are good, normally it's not easy. I mean, you have to be very precise tomorrow in the qualify, because here the first 3-4 corners are crucial for the race. So yeah, 9 points, that will not be easy, but of course this is the only target.
Last time out, just last weekend for Johan, the double DNF, obviously a huge frustration. We understand both related to the clutch. Is that the case? And what have Honda been trying? Because it is clear that there must have been something new you were trying to be an issue in both starts.
Well, there were some issues, and I think because you asked me this on Sunday morning, and I told you that it could happen again, and unfortunately it happened. So I want to say again that now we are pretty sure what was the problem, and we think we know how to fix it.
On Tuesday, the first time for a lot of us to see the 2026 package. From what we've been hearing, sounds like it's another step forward. How optimistic are you that this new bike will again take Honda closer to the front?
As I mean, we have always keep the same speech. I mean, we are trying to go, but step by step. I mean, don't expect massive changes. It has been like this through the year. Beginning of the year, we said we will improve after summer. We did it. So probably we will have a step Tuesday, but it's going to be step by step.
Well, it's great to see you this weekend, hopefully without those issues, as you say, and excited to see what you bring on Tuesday, Alberto. Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much, Jack. Thanks as always to HRC team manager Alberto Puig. The latest Spargo on the Honda HRC testing machine was third fast this morning with a 1:30.707. As mentioned, that top three, Miller, Ogura and the latest Spargo, all ran a new front and rear tyre. Ralph Fernandez was on a new medium rear at the end of the session. Frankie Morbidelli in 5th, Alex Marquez in 6th. Pedro Acosta in 8th, Fabio Di Antonio 9th fastest this morning. They were the only 4 riders in the top 10 that did not go out on a fresh rubber this morning.
Fermin Aldeguer went off the racetrack at the end of this morning's session. This was his crash into turn 4. Fair to say it's a pretty long list of riders who've made that mistake over the years across MotoGP and all Grand Prix classes. That was Aldeguer's session coming to an early end, which cost him the last 5 or 10 minutes of the session, and also cost him the opportunity for a practice start session at the end too. So certainly put Aldeguer on his back, but to his fair to an extent, although before the crash he was in relatively good form earlier on this morning, just dropping out of the top 10.
Easy to diagnose the cause of that particular spill for Aldeguer. Just picking up the throttle as he tried to get some drive out of that turn 4 with a bit of lean angle along the edge of the tyre, and just taking a bit of weight off the front. And down he went, a bit of a repair job for the Grassini Racing mechanics. Their job, Fence doing his job, brilliantly there in the background. Last time we were at the Ricardo Tormo circuit here in Valencia, Fermin Aldeguer was the winner in Moto2. It capped off an absolutely sensational conclusion to 2023. For the now 20-year-old, he became the second rider in Moto2 history to have 4 successive victories. That only happened once before in the first ever Moto2 campaign with Tony Elias all the way back in 2010. And it was that great burst of form at the end of 23, which just a couple of months later, in the early part of 2024, saw Ducati sign him up on a factory contract. And already a few murmurings, inevitably, with so many top riders out of contract next year, looking for deals in 2027. Fermin Aldeguer's name has already been mentioned in dispatches with a possible seat alongside Marc Marquez in the factory Ducati squad beyond 26.
Well, it's clear Ducati saw a lot in Fermin Aldeguer to sign him when they did. Signed him before that 2024 season even got underway. Speaking to Davide Tardozzi yesterday, he did say that even Ducati have been surprised by Fermin Aldeguer and how quickly he has adapted to MotoGP. He's already on a sprint podium by the French Grand Prix round 6 of the season. Of course, back then on the podium in the wet later that day. So nearly beat Marc Marquez to victory in Austria. And then, of course, took a spectacular maiden success in Indonesia. Running away in the front of the field as Pedro Acosta kept the rest of the field in his wake. So Fermin Aldeguer, quite clearly the rookie of the year in MotoGP. Very, very bright future ahead of him. Could still get himself up another place as high as 7th in the World Championship by the time we're done on Sunday afternoon.
For an accolade as well, that victory in Mandalika, helping him become the second youngest ever MotoGP winner in history. Second only to a certain Marc Marquez. Great to see him back in action. It was a steady start this morning, as you would expect, having not seen a MotoGP machine since he was was on his backside at turn 1 in the Mategi sprint, suffering a broken right collarbone, and the reason why we only see Jorge Martin back in action after that Japanese Grand Prix is there was some rather serious muscle and ligament damage in that right shoulder. He is back though, which is the best news possible for Martin and for, of course, the factory and brilliant team who are buoyant, aren't they? Good vibes certainly down in the Prix at the moment, with Marco Bezzecchi fresh off the back of his second victory in Portimao last weekend.
Certainly good initial signs to see Jorge Martin out there on track this afternoon. He did say earlier on in the weekend, he said, if I'm in a position where I'm in pain or too much pain, I am prepared to stop. But Jorge Martin hasn't done that at this stage, having put in 18 laps in pre-practice 1 earlier on today, can only be a positive sign, although with every session comes greater physical exertion and greater fatigue, of course.
Well, it's been a record-breaking 2025 MotoGP World Championship. It began so many months ago, didn't it, at the Chang International Circuit in Thailand in Buriram, and I recall our first special guest of 2025 was a certain Red Bull KTM Tech 3 boss, going by the name of Mr. Hervé Poncharal. Well, we started in perfect fashion in 2025, so let's not finish it in terms of our special guest as well, because I'm delighted to say once again on what is going to be a very, very emotional weekend. I'm sure there's probably not going to be a dry eye in the house in the Tech 3 garage on Sunday night, because Hervé is back with us ahead of his final Grand Prix as team owner of Tech 3. He passes the baton to Gunther Steiner in 2026. Hervé, welcome. How are we? How are the emotions with a couple of days remaining?
First, thank you very much for having me, and it looks like, as you mentioned, the opening run in Thailand Buriram was yesterday. It seems to me that it was just a few days ago, and that was round 1, and we are now at the final round. So now flash MotoGP, a lot of things happened then, because when I was with you commenting that session in Buriram, I was really not expecting to be leaving the paddock end of that season. I was not expecting to sell my team, and many things have happened since last March, but a lot of emotion. We had a small party last night organized by Dorna that was very emotional, and it's difficult to enjoy the weekend right now in Valencia, because I've got so many things in my head, in my heart, in my a lot of butterflies in my stomach, and you see all the people, how good they are, how nice they are, all the very special words they use to tell you, and I've never thought I was somebody special, but all these people, make you feel I'm gonna miss them, and what they are telling me makes me sad and a bit proud too.
Well, you're part of the MotoGP family. You're part of the furniture. You've been here for so long. I mean, how did it feel walking back into the paddock just this weekend, knowing it was going to be, as a team owner, particularly, of course, you're going to be a visitor. You're not going to stop coming to see us, are you? But your last Grand Prix as a team owner, it must have been a bit of a strange feeling walking the paddock yesterday for the final time.
Yeah, very strange feeling. The team has been sold, and that will be effective 1st of January. So till the end of the year, I'm still running Tech 3. But anyway, I've been sold to Gunther Steiner. He appointed Richard Coleman to be the team principal. So basically, Richard is gonna do what I'm doing, replace me. And last weekend in Portugal, and this weekend here we are together. And it's been it's a strange feeling, because you don't really realize that this is the end. But on the other side, you're with somebody that you introduce to everybody he has to meet, to know, and it's always the same, you never really realize when you're on site when this is happening, and I think maybe next week or in 10 days time I will start to digest. The good thing is I'm going to be back at the workshop with the whole crew, and till the end of December I'm going to be there, helping them to prepare 27th. So the transition will be less difficult and less painful, let's say.
Yellow flags out in sector 2. What is signed to Fernandez on the V4 more power to Yamaha widens our M1. That looks like Augusto's taking a tumble down at turn 6. He's A-OK. Maybe the same can't be said. The bike quite a lot of damage to the back of his head there as Augusto Fernandez, one of course Hervé's ex-riders, walks away from this spill. A big cloud of dust being kicked up in front of Ayagura's Trackhouse Aprilia.
Yeah, he had a decent morning, it's fair to say. Augusto Fernandez was up inside the top 10 earlier on a 31.0 for the Yamaha, and the V4 pace, as you can expect, a lot quicker already this afternoon. Marco Bezzecchi, we didn't see much from this morning, he's already down to a 1:30.126. That is the fastest lap time of the day so far. Acosta's matched out on a 30.1. We've got Ralph Fernandez and Mir close behind too. The Zarco, Alex Marquez, Quattararo Rim. Bagnaia is already well into the mid-30s, already a second quicker than he was earlier on today.
Before we start doing some real reminiscing, let's kind of stay in the present and the not too distant past. We saw you at the start of 2025, we're now seeing you again at the end. How do you think it's gone in between round 1 and 22, for Tech 3 and also for KTM in general? What's your assessment of this year?
You know, I would like to start by the fact that the first thing that made me think that was maybe, you know, difficult to carry on as, you know, owning Tech 3, you know, was the financial difficulty that we went through last winter. I mean, not we, the KTM went through last winter. And that was the start of the, you know, scratching my head and what's going to happen in Lviv. And then Liberty Media took over. Then we had quite a few investors, you know, calling us, contacting us. And then, you know, the IDK, you know, went, you know, bigger and bigger. I was thinking, blah, 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 blah. So, I have to say that having all that in mind, and if you remember in Bolivia, we didn't even know if KTM was going to be able to do the full season. And I think KTM, together with the factory team and Tech 3 team, we did really well, because not only we were here, but we've been, you know, doing podiums, we've been doing great races, you know. Pedro Acosta ensuring that really the KTM RC16 is one of the best bikes on the grid. Remember last weekend in Portimao, what he did both in the sprint and in the main race. And you know, if you consider what was the feeling in January, February, March, I think we did extremely well. I would like to really congratulate all the technicians and the team members involved in the two teams for their never give up attitude, for their always believing in the project. And even though financially it was certainly not easy for Pete and his team, they managed to improve the bike, to develop the bike a lot. And if you look at the RC16, it's really a piece of art, you know. So there is a non-stop working, pushing there. It was a very big pity for us to be, you know, deleted from the podium in Qatar with Maverick Viñales. We were sure he was going to be able to repeat that. Unfortunately, the nasty, and I would say stupid crash in Germany put him aside for the whole season. Still, we managed to do a podium in Austria, in the sprint race with Elia. We did a podium in Catalonia. You know, so I think clearly the KTM package is clearly very, very strong. You know, behind Ducati you got two main forces, which are Aprilia and KTM, depends on which track you are. But I'm very proud to have been part of that project, and I think we could end that weekend on a quite positive note.
Just looking actually at Marco Bezzecchi and Pedro Acosta together on circuit. They are actually our top two so far in the early part of this afternoon's practice session. Bezzecchi has the advantage of 1:30.126. 600 exactly clear of Pedro Acosta. Shot that is, look at Acosta. Elbow and knee on the tarmac going through turn 1. Have you seen a change in him this year, Hervé? He said himself that he was getting very frustrated, very tetchy, angry that the project wasn't there to match his own personal ambitions. Of course, second season, I think everybody expected Pedro to be winning from the get-go, and I think he's sort of been able to calm himself down a little bit, mature, particularly the second half of the season, and that extra maturity has come with some better results. And clearly at the moment, he's got the talent, he just needs the tools underneath him.
Absolutely, you know, last year with a rookie we did 9 podiums instead of 9, so that was really impressive. We could have won races, especially MotoGP Japan, I remember, but he was too impatient. He did quite a few mistakes, otherwise he would have been finishing running easily top 4, top 5 in the championship. And I think this year he understood that final ranking was very important, and you need to finish the race, not only to score points, but also to understand how the bike works, to give the right feedback to the engineers. And I think, although it's only his second year, although he's still very young, he's learned a lot. He's a much more mature rider now. He knows that if he has to go for top 5,
yeah, got somebody on the floor. Mike on the floor. That's Marco Bezzecchi, I think, who's trying to climb back on board that. It's Bezzecchi, second crash of the afternoon. He is your current leader on a 1:30.126, but Bezzecchi finds himself in the same gravel chance that Fermin Aldeguer was in this morning.
Took the old corner into that turn 4, so every time second gear under 100 km an hour, it's so easy just to get caught out there. Here is Bezzecchi, yeah. Just washing the front out then as he goes into that 4th corner. Yeah, he's been on circuit here for a good 3 or 4 laps, I think, behind Acosta, as Jack just reminding us in our headset. Perfectly okay, Bezzecchi. The crash again with MotoGP just does gnaw away the confidence a little bit.
Got Pedro Acosta earlier on, of course he's at the bottom. Maverick Vinales' injury, which obviously cut his season short at such a bad time for him. What about Enea's 2025? I guess, would you have expected a little bit more progress from him than we've seen through the season? He's spoken in recent Grand Prix and still, every time he rides a circuit on a Friday, it feels as if he's riding a KTM for the very first time, and we often see him qualifying deep down the grid, but his race pace is still not gone anywhere, but he just can't get himself off the grid.
Absolutely, this is a big mystery. I think it was also a bit the same story, even though when he was riding Ducati. But clearly, the Friday is a very important day. The practice, what we are watching now, is a crucial part of the weekend, and he never really managed to be direct Q2. The rare time he managed to be a decent grid position, like in Catalonia where he was P9, he ended up on the podium. Last weekend, unfortunately, he started very far down. He was involved in the Paul Espargaro for Pirelli, and I can't remember who, but it's a big incident that left his bearing, so he had to come back. But when you saw the pace he had when he was back on track, he was 5th fastest lap in the race, Enea Bastianini. So this is impossible. He doesn't understand, nobody understands how he can be not taking advantage on fresh tires on a 1 lap, and the speed he can have on the Sunday, on a full resistance. But we all know that if you don't start late even in the top 9 positions, which are the 3 top rows, it's almost mission impossible during the race. So every weekend is about the same, We have a long race on Friday, we have a longer race on Saturday morning. The sprint is a bit of a trial for the Sunday. We know that we will be able to score points on Sunday, but then on Sunday when you see the pace, the lap time, but unfortunately the position which is so-so, you can only be disappointed and you think, okay, next race we're going to do better. We are going to find a solution for this flying lap, but so far we never did.
Before Maverick's injury, obviously he was, for a long period in the first part of the championship, the strongest KTM rider. He was getting the best out of the RC16 package. Do you think it's fair to say, had he not had the injury, it's hindsight's wonderful, he would spot swaps and maybes, but do you think we would have seen Maverick potentially win a Grand Prix had he not stopped injury, because he was looking so strong at times in that first part of the championship?
Yeah, as you said, he be fifth, so I don't want to be playing too much if he fifth and say things that will never happen, but he was so confident in himself. He was feeling so good on the bike, especially from USA, I would say, the race before Qatar, and he was pretty sure he was going to win some races, but different, he couldn't race. Unfortunately, the injury that we thought was a very minor injury lasted for forever. He's still not 100% now, he's going, but still on the left side, he doesn't have the same strength as on the right side, and it's a big disappointment clearly, because as you mentioned earlier in the season, he was the best KTM rider. We never had doubt that Pedro would catch back, but I think him and Pedro would have pushed each other, and we could have a much better KTM overall reason, clearly.
Yeah, the moment. Maverick is down in 21st place, 1:30.904. Probably Top Gun. Marco Bezzecchi, despite that little spill at turn 4 from factory, brilliant. Still does lead this session, courtesy of his early 1:30.126. Closest challenger to him is Acosta. Just starting inside the factory KTM garage.
Pedro Acosta skipping the rear tyre into turn 1. So spectacular to watch. You can watch Pedro Acosta around an empty circuit and still be entertained, but he's entertained us in recent Grand Prix with his attack and also his defence. He's doing his level best to try and keep Alex Marquez at bay in the sprint 6 days ago in Portimao. Knocked on the door for so much of this season, and he'll be praying by the time 2025 is out on Sunday afternoon that that door is finally open for him.
Quite frustrated there, doesn't he, to have the Aprilia garage. Marco Bezzecchi probably was saying to himself, silly mistake to be making that early on in the session. Certainly didn't have that full over hour in Portimao at any stage last weekend, where he was on pole position, a sprint podium behind Acosta and Alex Marquez before he rebounded on the Sunday to take a dominant start to finish victory. It was a bit quiet out on circuit then, and before it all gets hectic later on with time attacks and all the riders pushing like crazy to get themselves in the Q2. Let's just have a little trip down memory lane, shall we? I'm going to put you on the spot here, very, very difficult, but top moments in what's been an incredible career. There's so many to pick from.
Top moments, I would say the first ever victory, and I think that was back in 1986 with Dominique Saron. The second one, I think, is for sure when we won the title in 2000 in great fashion in Phillip Island, and my mate next to me holding mine was Barry King, so there was a lot to remember about that race. The third moment would be when we won the Moto2 race in Catalonia and Montmeló with our own bike that we built in the workshop in between two MotoGP races, won by Takahashi. That was a very big pride and a very big moment. And of course, the last one, not in order, but there are the four. But what Miguel did in 2020, this victory in Austria, and maybe even more, the domination and the history Miguel and the victory road in Portugal in Portimao was really amazing. And on the Sunday night in Portimao 2020, I was with the whole top management from KTM, from Red Bull. With Miguel, we were sure that things were going to move forward, and we were at that time maybe the happiest team in the world. We were so happy, so sure about the future, and sometimes things doesn't go the way you think they were going to, but no, that were the four top moments of my life.
That was a very quick recall. You've got so many great moments in the Chief. I'm sure you've been asked this question quite a lot over the last few months.
Actually, I've been thinking, because I knew some people would ask this question, and it's very difficult to pick up because altogether I've been almost 45 years here, And when you're here for almost half a century, you can imagine how many people you met, how many situations you've been through, how many races you followed, how many riders you worked with, and every single person, every single rider, every single bike, every single season is special. But you can imagine everything we've been through. I'm sure if I ask you this question, you will also have quite a few stories to tell me.
So many.
And I'm quite glad that Manders was part of my team for one season, and this is something I'm really proud of also. And when I listen to you, when I see how good you are behind the microphone, I'm very proud of you.
Do I have to give you the €100 now or after?
No, you can hug me afterwards if you want, but I don't need any money.
Oh, great.
I think Mr. Sean is going to give me enough money, so I don't need anything from you, man.
I'll accept the invitation of a hug afterwards. No, I'll accept the invitation to your new yacht and all the money you're getting from Gunther Steiner on the south of France next year.
You don't know me. I'm not a yacht man, I'm more a kayak man than a yacht man,
And all the money does not come out of Gunther Steiner's square jar, which is currently getting fuller with every day that goes by. So many people, I guess, have been part of the Tech 3 story, the Hervé Poncharal story, whether it be riders, engineers, journalists and commentators who you've met over the years. One person I wanted to really ask you about was Guy Coulon, who has been there from the very beginning with you at Tech 3. But without him, is there no Tech 3?
I don't know if without him there would be Tech 3, but without him we would not achieve what we achieved. And you know, the more I age, the more I told all the people who ask me when they're about to open a company, to build a company, I say, never take a partner, do it yourself. Because if you do it with somebody, you're going to end up in a fight. And I think the only guy in the world I could work with, I could live with, and I could, you know, decide without any confrontation is equal. Also, he's been a fantastic partner. He's a fantastic human being. He loves technique, he loves racing like almost nobody else. And he's a super honest man. And yeah, without him, we don't have been the same. And I owe him a lot. And what makes me really happy is we live at the same place, and we're gonna be friends forever. And you know what I love is when we go cycling in the morning together, when we share everything. So he's been a key man in my life, and he's gonna remain even after retirement.
Yeah, an unbreakable bond, I think it's what's fair to say between you two. Yeah, a combination that was like strawberries and cream.
I was a strawberry.
Here is one of your ex-riders who brought so much success back in the day. Tech 3, it is Miguel Oliveira, of course, an emotional weekend for Miguel too, as he says farewell to the MotoGP World Championship of the BMW World Practice project next year. We saw actually a nice shot of you on the grid last weekend in Portimao, just with Miguel. I mean,
You made him cry, Herbert.
yes, a private conversation, but can you tell us a little bit about what you just said to Miguel? Of course, is such a key component of your history.
You can imagine, you know, I love Miguel, and I just want to see him and to tell him, you know, thank you from the bottom of my heart. We did things that, you know, we will never forget. You are a great man, and thank you for what you've done, and, you know, good luck for the future. But, Miguel is a very special person. Of course, with what he does as a rider, but also as a person, he's a fantastic person. He's a clever man, he has culture, you can talk about many different topics. And honestly, I'm disappointed because I thought he was going to do a lot better, you know. And I think he was quite unlucky with some injury, with maybe sometimes not the right choice. And that's it, but he's a very special person, and he's one of the riders I have enjoyed most working with, really.
Martin Besnecki still lead. He's just about to head out on circuit, as you can see, on his second factory Aprilia. Nobody been able to see better at the moment, that 130.126. Fabio Di Gianantonio starting to make forward progress. He's on fresh rubber at the moment, as you can see on that graphic there in Diggia. And that's helped him to a 130.237. Might get even quicker on this current lap as well, the Italian.
Watching Alessio Spargo then, who's of course fulfilling his wildcard duties this weekend. Part of the Honda test team, as mentioned, and we'll reiterate, it was mentioned pre-session when Jack caught up with Alberto Prix. 9 points this weekend, and that's 9 points for the first Honda rider across the checkered flag in the Sprint and the Grand Prix. That's not a collective across all 5 of them. 9 points is what they need to move up a concessions level for next season. If they achieve that, then that will impact on the number of wildcards they have available to them. It will see the current lack of restrictions in engine development, of course, put back in place once again. They'll go back in line with the other manufacturers, without Yamaha, of course, in terms of their aero development too. So plenty up for grabs for Honda this weekend. Gian Antonio has managed to lap the Valencia circuit in exactly 90 seconds. He now takes top spot away from Marco Bezzecchi.
Yeah, he's really using those fresh, soft tyres. As sector 2 has caught somebody else down. It's not another turn 4 crash ticket for one of the riders out on circuit. Try and find out exactly why the reason for the sector 2 yellows. Certainly not Frankie Morbidelli at the moment, who has cleared that second sector. Frankie on a good lap as well. We might be getting close to a VR46 1-2 Iagura. Taking a tumble in. So we do indeed have a VR46 1-2. Gian Antonio leading Morbidelli. Iagura's gone down at turn 3 to report. At the end of his rookie season, what's been a bit of a roller coaster up and down campaign, as it's often is for rookies. There's been the big crashes, the big results, a few injuries as well. But Aguirre looks relatively okay after his get off at turn 3.
corner with the bike there, isn't it? You can just see him behind the bike there into turn 3. First crash we've seen there over the course of the day. Agura has had some big ones in his rookie season, but at least we are pleased to report that Agura's back on his feet. I guess it's been a big part of the Tech 3 story, hasn't it? Bringing rookies into MotoGP. Miguel Oliveira is one of them who you've mentioned. We've seen like Bradley Smith, Colin Spargo, and Pedro Acosta very recently brought into MotoGP.
We have to blame him for bringing Cal Crutchlow into the paddock as well.
Yes, is that something that you're especially proud of? Of course, I guess, but part of the Tech 3 identity, I guess, providing opportunities for young riders.
I was very happy, and I would say, yes, it's part of Tech 3 identity, but also that was a natural organization with our manufacturer, because it started with Yamaha, and clearly the factory team is always having the riders that are capable to fight for the championship. And normally the satellite operation or the independent operation, call it the way you want, easier to give a chance for your rider to show his level and eventually move to the factory team the following year. So we did that with Yamaha for many years. You cite, you mentioned quite a few names, and it was exactly the same, because when we started with KTM, year 1 we were with Yarin and Oliveira, then we kept on, having young riders like Raul Fernandez, like Remy Gardner, and last year with Pedro Acosta. And I have to say I like it a lot. I like it a lot because when you do a season like the one we did last year with Pedro, nobody expects a rookie coming from Moto2 to be fast and speed. He makes it. And when you do it, it's an incredible feeling. And also, when you have a rookie, he's listening to you, and you can have a proper, way of working together, because as soon as the rider is year 2, year 3, he has so many people around him, he's so sure about himself that you almost have no more interaction. So this is what I like, and this is also what I really like to have a Moto3 team, because with the young riders, you have a real, communication, you have a real, I would say, relationship where you feel they are asking you to help them. Where, when you are with a top rider, and for example this year with Maverick and Enea, they don't need my advice. So yes, I like it a lot.
One of your star rookies from the past is the star performer on Friday afternoon here now. We've just seen Pedro Acosta with a new medium rear tyre fitted to his KTM. Be the first rider to bust the 90-second barrier in Valencia, 129.790. Obviously this year was a bit of a change in strategy with taking the experience of Maverick Vinales and Enea Bastianini. Would you advise me to Gunther Steiner and Richard Coleman and to KTM in general to perhaps go back to that model, that strategy of trying to pick up rookies, or what would your advice be?
Honestly, right now the plan is a 2-year plan. So the 4 riders are signed for 25 and 26, so nothing's going to change. Gunther and Richard Coleman are going to run the team as it is, with Enea and Maverick, Red Bull KTM, Moto2 Colors, etc. But for sure, if they ask me my advice, or they want to share things with me, I would tell them to very closely and very carefully monitorize. You want to have a word about what Pedro just did, Matt?
Identical laps, some consecutive laps there for Pedro Acosta at 29.790, back to back.
And I believe, if you look at the current grid now, for me end of 26 there will be a lot of riders that will leave the grid, because okay, Matt is the box, there is no need to say anything about that, he's the box. But then you have guys like Pedro, who for me is a jewel and is an incredible rider with an incredible future. Fermin Aldeguer, what about that guy who is so, well, and then you have a lot of riders that are here for quite a few seasons, that for some of them are 30 plus, and clearly you think carefully what you want to do, prepare 27, 28, you need to think twice, because in our sport, we all know, you have to have a position, but the rider is key. Remember how many races Valentino won?
All the points missing out there of Fabio Quartararo's Yamaha. He's having a good look down. He's got off the racetrack very sensibly in turn 1. One would hope that there hasn't been a Yamaha expiration there on the main straight between turn 14 and turn 1. He's having a good look down. You can see it spitting up from the onboard camera. I think Quartararo's saying you might want to get some flags out.
Yeah, he's saying the marshals there, get some flags out. He's pointing down to the left-hand side of that factory Yamaha, urging the marshals to make sure that there's no circuit contamination. He's now going to try and push that bike back to pit lane. Let's hope then that there's going to be no disruption to this
But
session.
if he's pushing the bike back to the box like that, because he thinks he can reduce that bike before the end of the session, so that would be a big thing. I don't know what it is.
Sixth in the session when he had that drama, Fabio Quartararo at 1:30.301. There is the world champion then.
It's just the right as we look for Quartararo. Water potentially that's being spat out.
Could be.
Sounds like sort of just under the left handlebar, isn't that sort of area?
But for sure, if he's pushing like that to bring the bike back to the box, it must be a big thing.
Thinking about the future beyond 2026 in terms of the grid.
Look, for example, who are the two outstanding riders in Moto2 right now this season? Olgado and Alonso. They are rookies. So, what I like in this job, in this sport, and what I like in being a team owner, having the possibility to become the rider you want, is to bargain, to take risks. You know, when I took Perone last year, he was only doing ETC. Everybody told me don't take him because he has to go to a proper Moto3 junior championship before moving to the World Tour. I said, no, you're good enough, you can sign a step. And, he's been fighting for pole position, he's been fighting for victories. And this is the most exciting thing, to pick up and to bet on a rider who is not a superstar, but where you have the feeling that with a bit of time on the bike, the right human support around you, technical but also human, and this is what I like a lot, you could shake the order and push the established star. And this is probably the most exciting, and this is what I would do.
One established star MotoGP without any question is Quartararo, who has made his way to the back of the factory Yamaha garage. Where they'll start the process of understanding exactly what happens to his numero uno white star M1. Rather frustrated once again is the Fabio Quartararo. I think the general consensus of the current MotoGP grid, Marc Marquez clearly, without any question, is the reference. He's a reigning world champion, been superb on the factory Ducati, very, very close, natural talent-wise. Fabio Quartararo, Pedro Acosta. When we're looking to the 2027 grid, everybody keeps saying, will Fabio Quartararo leave Yamaha? Will Pedro Acosta leave KTM? How difficult do those two factories have a job on their hands to keep those two superstar talents? Because they're ambitious, they're hungry for success. They'll not hesitate to look around in the market, will they?
I think Fabio clearly decided to believe in what Yamaha showed him and explained him, and the whole project when he signed 2 years ago, and now he's got another year. Let's give Yamaha a chance. There is a new machine, a new V4 bike coming, so it's going to be up to him. But I read a sentence yesterday or the day before. He said, I have a lot of respect for Marc Marquez, who dumped a big money offer for a bike that, it looks like water. Looks like water coming out. And I'm sure, if there is a clever team manager, and there are many clever team managers, Fabio must be on their list. A lot of people think the only one on the Kroll machinery that could eventually fight with Marc at the moment could be Fabio. But again, as I said, guys like Pedro Acosta, Fermin Aldeguer, Marco Bezzecchi, these guys are really the future also, because they are young, especially Pedro and Fermin, but also look at what's happening in Moto2. I told you about the two Aspar guys, but also when you see incredible talent, the Kelas, the Uriate, within 2-3 years, they could be already knocking at the MotoGP door. So it's going to be a very, very exciting, 3-4 year stint, because so many things will change. The bikes will change, the tires will change, but also regarding the man, the hero, our gladiator, there will be also quite a few new names on top of the world.
Well, last weekend in Portimao was certainly Marco Bezzecchi, who after that early relax turn 4 now finds himself back in P4. Someone who has caught the eyes, Bezzecchi just makes a mistake going into turn 2. So it's Raul Fernandez, who missed last weekend's Portuguese Grand Prix after his heavy Friday morning practice crash. He was 4th fastest this morning was Raul. He's 5th, he's right up there once again for track out Aprilia.
Juan Mir has just gone out. Yes, he has. You can now see both of your screens on some brand new tyres, so we could see a first genuine attempt at a time attack from the Hondas, which is currently 7th, 8th and 9th. Mir, Marini and Zarco. Top 10 at the moment, as you can see across the Gian Antonio Morbidelli, Bezzecchi, Raul Fernandez, Quartararo, Mir, Marini, Zarco, Miller. Which leaves Alex Marquez and Pecco Bagnaia just outside that top 10. They've both done mid-130s. Aldeguer also outside the top 10 himself. We haven't really seen it. He is now on brand new top 5, but hasn't pushed for a time attack just yet. So perhaps the surprise is at the moment are Bagnaia, Alex Marquez and Fabio Quartararo. Changing weathers, and we'll sort of wait to see whether he's got 1 or 2 boxing Yamahas available to him. He's ready to rejoin the action.
Quartararo then at the moment 6th. We've seen so many unbelievable single laps produced this year by Quartararo. Quartararo's mesmerising moles we've seen at 2025. Juan Mir then on fresh rubber. He's in early time attack mode here. Bagnaia, we've seen very, very little, have we? Florida, who's such fond memories of this Valencia circuit twice. He's been crowned MotoGP World Champion here in 2022 and in 2023. Bagnaia at the moment is, we take a 12th, 130.450 from the Italian.
Yes, as an outsider, how possible has it been for you as it has been for the rest of us to see the travails of Pecco Bagnaia in 2025? Of course, when we spoke to you at the very first round of the season, we were all super excited for the head-to-head between Marquez and Pecco Bagnaia. Never really materialised, did it?
Honestly, I'm going to tell you what everybody says. What a mystery. How to explain, especially when you saw that out of his nightmare when there was an incredible victory in Japan, So for me, I'm not Mr. I know everything, and I don't want to sound like Mr. I know everything, but clearly there is a lot which is played in the head, a lot. And I don't know, but for sure, Pecco still knows to ride a bike. The Ducati, for me, is still, even though the margin is less, still the best bike on track, and he knows his team knows him. So for me, there is no reason, no real reason. I don't understand.
How much do you think is the Marquez factor? Having a teammate like Mark who is just so strong in every aspect of the sport.
For sure, this has an impact, because when you're having difficulties, even in the beginning, if it's small difficulties, when you're having a bit of a some type of question mark in your head, and you see the guy next door who is winning, pole position fastest every session, and what you say is not so well listened to. You know what I mean? I remember, as I told you before, when I was with Yamaha, there were 4 Yamaha. Valentino was winning every race, was winning every championship. And the other 3 riders were completely lost. And they were on the same machinery, I can tell you. And when we were showing the data of Valentino to the other guy, they said, I just can't do that. And I think the same thing was happening when Marc was with Honda. And for sure, to have a teammate like Marc Marquez doing what he was doing with the bike, it's a shock, and to be not the number 1 anymore, to not be the one winning all the time, and the one who has all the hope and of the factory on you, changed the whole game. We see Fabio back.
11 Grand Prix wins Pecco Bagnaia had last year, down to just the 2 this season. It's not even a given that he'll hold on to 4th place overall in the World Championship, only 3 points clear of Pedro Acosta. Pecco Bagnaia has not actually finished a Grand Prix since that victory over in Mategi, 4th successive DNF for the first time since his rookie season, all the way back in 2019. As I agree, a little bit like Marco Bezzecchi, has had to pick himself up off the floor on an Aprilia in this session. job in recovery mode right now as Aguirre-san. He's up to 9th with a 1:30.313.
Brilliant, brilliant. Currently up inside the top 10 with Rampelender 6th and Sesi 4th. Jorge Martin, he's 22nd at the moment. He's put in 13 laps, which is not a million miles away from what everyone else has done out there. The majority is done between sort of 12 and 18 laps at the moment. Martin, a 30.8. He's a second off the pace right now.
Replay shot then of Acosta. A couple of high-profile fallers at that turn 4 here today. Firmin Aldeguer this morning, Marco Bettesecchi this afternoon. This is always a spectacular turn 13 shot here in Valencia. Shows the skill of the very best riders in the world. Acosta then at the moment still leading, the only rider that's still in the 129s. 210, just a little bit more ahead of Fabio Gian Antonio and Frankie Morbidelli.
I think almost everyone is in the box now to get started, so we are going to see in the next few minutes a big change in the order, in the classification. But the good thing also is thanks to the hard work, the concession, and everything that has been done by both Yamaha and Honda, you can see that they are coming now. And I'm quite sure 26 is going to see the 5 manufacturers a lot closer to what has been happening in 25. But I wouldn't bet on any brand to be the leading brand from 27, because they will almost start from scratch with the new technical rule. And I can tell you that everybody's going to be pretty ready, including Honda Yamaha.
I wanted to ask you that. I'm not going to ask you the difference between when you first arrived in MotoGP and now, because it's a night and day difference. It's a completely different game, a completely different world. But now you are stepping away from the sport full time. I mean, how do you see the sport in its current state and where it's going in the future? I mean, these are exciting times, aren't they, for the MotoGP World Championship?
Oh, for sure. For sure. I think, when you tell me that, it gives me regret to leave now. Because
I'm sorry. Well, you never say. You're always welcome.
This is the worst time to leave. No, but I think, with what Liberty Media is going to bring, the expertise to market the championship, the thing they've learned, what to do and what not to do in Formula One, although we are not exactly the same, but there are things that are in common. And the good way they work together with Dorna, leaving Dorna, who knows how to run the championship, and exchange with them, are going to give, all these things are going to give the manufacturers, the team, and the sponsors more reason to come to be here. And for me, I see the MotoGP championship growing, and I see it to be more and more exciting, because you have Ducati dominating the championship at the moment, but less and less and less. And I think from 2027, rider-wise, manufacturer-wise, everything is going to be so close. Clearly, the new tire manufacturer is going to play also some kind of new. This is going to be a new factor. So I think the MotoGP Championship is having a really bright future ahead of it.
And how is Hervé Poncharal going to spend his weekend? I guess you're still going to come to a few Grand Prix and come and see all of us, but
listening to you guys. Kayak. I'm going to be on my kayak with the MotoGP app and watching on my phone. Honestly, I don't really know. At the moment, this is still a big shock to understand. I'm going to be out of here, and I need to end the year, as I told you, to leave everything ready to go for 1st of January to put Richard, and afterwards I will have a few, let's say, months to think, to settle and to think what I want to do. But for sure, MotoGP will remain in my heart forever, and I will be following each single session, even in the middle of the night, once it will be in Australia, Indonesia, or anywhere else.
And before this session reaches its conclusion, when the time attacks coming in, we'll be focusing on that, of course. I'll just take the opportunity on behalf of MotoGP fans all around the world, in particular from Dorna's side, all the tireless work, the commitment, the dedication that you put in to be such a key, influential figure in the MotoGP World Championship, helping behind the scenes and in front of the cameras. You've always given the Dorna crew down the years your time and your energy and also personally as well, Hervé. I mean, I've known you for, 30 years. I came to this paddock for the first time in 1996. I was a very raw and fresh 22-year-old. I'm not sure how long I would have stayed around if it wasn't for people like you in the paddock, keeping an eye out for me, helping me learn, helping me develop. And we were very, very close, as you mentioned it a few years ago. I've got a father, but I think it was almost like I had another father figure in the paddock with me as well. So that's all I can say from the bottom of my heart, and on behalf of Dorna, so many other people in the paddock, and in particular the fans all around the world who enjoyed seeing your success with the team at Tech 3. Thank you so much. And whatever is next for Mr. Hervé Poncharal, I'm sure it's going to be an exciting adventure, a great chapter, and we wish you all the very best. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Matt. You make me cry. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, well,
Don't cry just yet.
yeah, I'll have my comments. I haven't known you anyways here as long, but I first came into this paddock in 2019 as a member of the social media team here at Dorna, and was scared to go in bloody pit box. Didn't know anybody here, and I was doing some filming with Ike Makona, who was testing, of course, for the first time with yourself, and the person that opened their doors and welcomed me into the pit box was yourself. So you certainly made me feel welcome in this pit box. So yeah, in this paddock. So I certainly echo Matt's comments, and we thank you for everything you've done for MotoGP. It will not be the same without you. Pedro Acosta, meanwhile, is going about his domination of this Valencia Grand Prix weekend. He's now put into fresh tyres and extended his advantage to 6/10 of a second now. Acosta down to a 29.240. Jack Miller, this morning's pace setter, up to second.
Get the impression that Pedro Acosta really wants to win this final Grand
He
Prix.
ain't going on without a win.
No, he's so desperate to win. We're desperate to see him win because he's got this sort of bet with Danny Pedrosa about dyeing his hair orange if he wins the Grand Prix. I'm not sure if he will actually go through on that one, but Pedro Acosta still leads this session then. Jack Miller up second. 4 riders now, they're on 29s. Acosta, Miller, Morbidelli and Ralph Fernandez. That's a fair play to Morbidelli and Ralph Fernandez because they both took heavy blows to various parts of their body in Portugal last weekend. Third and fourth fastest as we get into the time attack modes here.
The riders really need to step up in these latter stages. Quartararo, of course, had his issues. He's 14th. Pecco Bagnaia now is 19th. Behind Jorge Martin, he's put in a 130.4 to go into 18th place. And Alex Marquez down in P17. I'm sure they will lift themselves up the order when some fresh tyres are being put in. But at the moment, 2 of the top 4 riders in the World Championship are usually low down the order. Certainly in the case of Alex Marquez, who of course won the sprint 6 days ago. Mir now into the 129. He goes into 4th place for Honda.
The rider who Hervé knows very, very well indeed has just gone on briefly into 5th, now back in 6th place after Mir's run. It's Johan Zarco, 129.923. John gave you so many great moments.
Yeah, I'm amazed by Johan, you know, because he's still got the passion, the fire burning inside him, and you know, he's 35
now.
Yeah, he's going to be 36. But the passion is the passion of a teenager, and it's still fast, you know.
Still very fast, of course. When we look back at some of our fond memories of 2025, the French Grand Prix in Le Mans, which he won with his parents there. I mean, it was one of the moments of the season for sure.
Oh yeah, Claude Vichy, the French Grand Prix organizer, is a master. He predicted the rain happened at the right time, and that was a fantastic moment. It was a fantastic moment.
The first French rider to win his home French MotoGP race in over 70 years.
Something like that, yeah. I think the other one was Mulai, strong Mulai, yeah. But it's not that magic for us at the moment because Bastianini and Maverick are not really the top 10 at the moment, which is a big shame, and this is what we need to have a good race on Sunday.
Yeah, Bastianini 13th at the moment on a 130.2. He needs to find a 10th per second from where he is at the moment to get himself into the top 10. Vinales, of course, is riding for the first time competitively for a 4 or 5 Grand Prix. We saw him withdraw in Indonesia. He's currently 21st on a 30.6. Aldeguer is continuing to push on, but still outside the top 10 at present.
Top right, top return once again by Martin. He's been so many comebacks already, hasn't he, in 2025? A 130.404 from Martin a couple of laps ago. Just over a second once again behind Acosta. He's got the likes of Bagnaia, Vinales, Oliveira behind him as well. Rather an impressive turn from our now former world champion.
Really impressive because when you imagine how long he has been riding a bike, and to jump on a MotoGP bike like that in Valencia with the morning where the track conditions were not perfect, and to do what he's doing already in the champion.
Yeah, but as he said yesterday, he's not ridden anything. He hasn't been on two wheels since that first corner crash in the sprint in Mulai. The first time he was back on two wheels was on his scooter when he arrived in the paddock here a couple of days ago, showing once again he's a top talent, a top rider, and he will be back at the top shortly in 2026 on a competitive factory. Let's go down to Jack and get an update on the Martin. Jack.
Yeah, it looks as though it could be session over for Jorge Martin. Decision taken by the team. That is enough. Smiles on faces, job done, miles under the belt. They're happy to not go out there and push the limit, although Paolo Minora is just coming in my direction. He is going out, Paolo. No, he's not going out. Okay, session over. There we go. Confirmation from the horse's mouth. Job done for Jorge Martin.
Thanks very much, Jack. An excellent job done as well by Jorge Martin. He has gone 1.5 seconds faster compared to his best time this morning. So yeah, that's what would have just calmed him, settled some nerves, and more crucially, he built some confidence, because this year, I mean, his confidence must be on the floor after having so many big crashes and big injuries.
No, I think it was a really wise decision, and I think it's going to reset and rest, because also the muscle and the body must be tired. MotoGP Valencia and good job, because he wouldn't have been able to beat the top 10 anyway. And I'm glad to see Fabio finally, have everything he needs to push, and before he's not too bad for the moment.
How good Fabio is in time attack mode. Pecco Bagnaia was on course for the top 10 now before he sweeps back into pit lane. That lap was an estimated 10th place for Bagnaia, and he needs to find some time, because at the moment he's outside the cut-off point at 1:30.154. He comes back into pit lane and still leaves Pecco down in 12th.
That 10th place currently being occupied by Marco Bezzecchi. Bagnaia clearly won't be fueled up for those laps given the time that is remaining, but just wanted to push on the in lap just to see where he can potentially improve. He looks up at the timing screens. He needs to find minimum a tenth of a second to get on toes with Bezzecchi. Surely he's going to have to get himself into the 29s in the time that remains. The pace is going to continue to increase. Surely the likes of Aldeguer outside the top 10 is likely to improve. Pinto will surely be wanting to get himself near the top 10, but he's down in 19th place for the moment on his battery Honda, which would be a surprise. So still plenty to shake out yet in his final 7 minutes.
Martin is going to venture back out of circuit. Okay, he's having another crack at it then. Just out on new tyres. It's not a time attack bit. Then thanks very much, Jack, just for saying he's going back out on a well-worn set of rubber. So this is not any additional time attack coming in from Martin.
We did say yesterday when I spoke to him, maybe I won't bother going for a time attack, because remember, he does have a double long lap penalty to serve as well on Sunday afternoon in the Grand Prix for his part in the collision which caused the injury when he wiped out his teammate Bezzecchi in the Motegi sprint. So 2 long laps to come on Sunday afternoon, so he knows that his Grand Prix is going to be spent probably largely at the back of the field on Sunday, but he is not really in the results business here this weekend.
Laps to welcome back Jorge from Simon Craig. That's when he didn't fly the course after he did that plough into Marco Bezzecchi in that first corner instance in the sprint in Japan. So work to do for Bagnaia, work to do for Aldeguer as well. Moto2 winning, I should say, back in 2023 as mentioned. Bezzecchi has been a trouble free session for the Italian. He was on the floor very early on that turn 4. At the moment, that 1:30.066 has got Bezzecchi right in the danger zone. The wrong end of this top 10. At the moment, though, crucially, he is in the top 10.
But follow Bezzecchi then into turn 2. Would be an almighty surprise even if he's 10th, let alone if he's out of the top 10. Strong first sector for Marco, who now makes his way to turn 4. He'll be giving this corner his due care and attention after what happened earlier. Into 5 then. So Ralph Fernandez is also setting impressive second times up the road. Bezzecchi now approaches turn 6, where he'll find a relatively slow-moving Alex Marquez in the way. Alex is going to be careful to keep himself well out of the way. He is on an outlap at the moment on board the 73. Coming together quite nicely this for Bezzecchi. Currently on a 13.0, needs to get himself into the 29 and well into the 29 to get things quite comfortable. Fernandez takes 6th place, so at the moment we've got a Prix in 6th and 10th. Sesi now, round turn 11. Long lap penalty zone on your left. Now approach the short mini straight into 12, and this at the moment on target to slot Sesi into that 3/10 gap between Acosta and Alex Marquez.
Over the Torch pre-weekend with Maverick. They was obviously confident he was going to be able to complete the full 3 days, but was there a discussion if he was in too much pain, too much discomfort? I guess there was. You withdraw him out, maybe just focus on the Tuesday test. At the moment, obviously, putting together some pretty competitive lap times, but was that a consideration?
No, he was ready to come to Portimao, but at the end of the day, we thought better to give him another week and for him to be close to 100%, and really the target is to do the full Valencia Grand Prix and of course the very important Tuesday test. So it doesn't matter what the performance is going to be, he wants to do more and more laps because this is such a long time he hasn't been on a MotoGP ride. So no question, he's going to do the whole Grand Prix.
Replacing Marc Marquez and just found his best time at the opening day. A very respectable 1:30.552 from that Vertigo. So we're all looking forward to that Tuesday test. The opening throw to 2026 where we'll see Toprak Razgatlioglu make his public debut on the Pramac Yamaha. Bagnaia then just creep into the top 10. He's found a 1:29.847, which has pushed him up to 9th.
What's this one from Malaysia Spargo? Oh, just misses out in that final sector. He was on course for Q2 and potentially bumping me around on Honda at 29.9 for Malaysia Spargo. Not enough. 30.0, not enough for Ayagura. We've got riders ahead of him in the order also going very quickly. Jack Miller now into the top 3 and he cements his status as top Yamaha so far today.
Seki on course for P1. We're on board now then with the Italian. Through the final corner we go. Then he'll pick up the throttle now then. Start winding up through the steamership gearbox. Not very often around, well, it's just here on this start finish track where the riders hit top gear. But Seki just missing out at 1:29.293. Gap cut down to Acosta just under 600th of a second. Acosta still with the advantage here on Practice Friday in Valencia. Mir now to 6th.
So Bagnaia precarious again, back down to 10th. Could that now become 11th? It does, as Brad Binder gets himself buried into the 29th. 1:29.729 for Binder. So the moment bonus matching KTM getting through.
That's Enea Bastianini, one of the top 3 riders. He's down in 17th place at the moment. Enea's going...
I don't know what he's doing because for the last run I was checking and it's all grey helmet. Okay, it's the first yellow helmet, but it's too far.
I detect a sense of frustration in your voice there a little bit.
A lot of frustration. I don't understand.
Maverick Vinales has just put in his best time of the session at 1:30.147 and dragged Maverick up into peak 16. That's just under a second away. Alexa Spargo just outside of the top 10. Agura now third. Brilliant job by Ayagura. So we've got 2 Aprilias inside the top 3. Betseki and now Agura. That will really into the top 3 before Billy now jumps up into third.
It's an impressive lap back from Ayagura. Aldeguer is still a rookie, he's just at his personal best, but only 16th on a 29.9 for the moment. We've got Fernandez down to 11th, Bagnaia 13th, Zarco 14th, Aldeguer 16th, all Grand Prix winners this season, all missing the top 10 cut-off at the moment.
At the moment it's 7th, does he improve over the line? No, he doesn't. Is that 1:29.593 good enough for Gian Antonio? 70 seconds of the session remaining. The final Friday of 2025 about to be in the box here. Alex Marquez now 4th. He's got down to a 1:29.473. Bagnaia needs to find some time, big time here, doesn't he? Well, I think at the moment on this current lap for Pecco Bagnaia, 13th place on his stands right now.
Bastianini might have heard you, but he is now setting personal best second time, so they're going to put him into the top 10 at the moment. It could at least lift him up from his current P19.
Yes. Not 3 yellow, have a grey again, and 0.7 after P3.
Right, but then Bagnaia on his last flying lap, but he needs a big lap here. 1:29.833 from the Italian outside of the top 10. Down in 13th place, Agura surely isn't safe with his 1:29.555.
Aldeguer is coming. Aldeguer is coming.
Yeah, Aldeguer now negotiating the final call. He might just creep over like in fact he will do, only for one more lap here. There's going to be about sort of 7 or 8 seconds remaining for Aldeguer over the line. Yeah, up into 8, 1:29.597. Is that going to be good enough? Yeah, the boss likes it.
Nadia is happy.
Yeah, Nadia's at least one happy by the GP team boss that we can see.
Her story is unbelievable. We invite me another time and I will tell you a story.
Might need longer than a 1 hour session for that one. Here comes Sesi then, checkered flag is out. Pedro Acosta's 29.2, which he set a while ago in fairness, has still put him on top. I don't even know if he's been out there doing time attacks at the end. He's comfortably quickest. Quartararo is approaching the checkered flag. He's 10th for the moment, Diction 6, I didn't think he does it. He misses out in the final sector, so he'll now be looking over his shoulder.
Maverick Vinales are going to have bragging rights on Friday inside 10.3 KTM. Over to Pega Bagnaia once again is in Q1. Some good jobs, some really good jobs in that section. Acosta's going to be fastest. What happened here later on for Marco Bezzecchi? That's how hard Bez was pushing to try and find the best time of day one. Second place, though, despite a crash in turn 4 in that practice session. A good job by Bez. Morbidelli third. And he crashed in turn 5.
And before I leave, man, Pedro Acosta first, Bezzecchi second, 2 ex-factory riders.
Ex-factory riders. Once again, you're sprinkling some magic around the MotoGP paddock. And on that note, now that session is over. Hervé, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for you, thank you to you, thank you for your kind words, Matt. Really touched me. And say hi and thank you to all the MotoGP fans and everybody who is follows MotoGP with you, MotoGP TV.
Enjoy the remainder of this farewell Grand Prix.
I will. Thank you very much and see you very soon for another story.
Don't be a stranger. Our door is always open for you in the commentary box whenever you are back in the paddock. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Hervé Poncharal, a paddock legend. Thank you very much, Hervé. We'll see you soon, I'm sure, in the not too distant future. Fantastic then to get Hervé to join us as a special guest here in the commentary box. I'm sure, as myself and Lewis is here in the booth, all of you watching at home, certainly enjoy. Let's stay with me. Let's stay with the KTM theme as I almost give a left hook to Mr. Poncharal as he's departing the commentary box. Quite literally leaving with a back. Okay, right. Jack's got Porsche down in Finland. Take it away, Jack.
Yes, thank you. I'll let you guys embrace Hervé and I'll chat to Paul after arguably best Friday of the season. I mean, Pedro looks fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it's for me, it's just a continuation of what we've been building up, and yeah, like you said, for sure, the amount of quality laps we put in today, and he looks really good out there, to be honest. Looks really calm, and his focus is looking really good.
Yeah, good on race rhythm, fast on the time attack.
Yeah.
You must be confident going into the rest of the weekend.
I mean, it's the best way to start. You know, you're sitting there, and it's not only the one lap, it's how we put the whole thing together, which makes me really, really confident. Yeah.
Good luck for the rest of it.
Cheers, buddy.
Another superb performance by Pedro Acosta. Alex Marquez then, the only rider on the grid to have participated now in all Q2 sessions in 2025. Something Rally to be proud of. They're having a bit of a laugh and a joke, aren't they, down at the factory in front of team, because Marco Bezzecchi having taken that early spill at turn 4. Great job by him in 4th place. Some really good rides actually in that session. Acosta will of course grab the headlines and rightfully so fastest. Bezzecchi after a fall second. Frankie Morbidelli 5 days after a nasty crash in turn 5 on lap 1 in Portimao is 3rd fastest. Ayagura picking up some top form later on in this season. He's 5th. Jack Miller 6th and the fastest Yamaha. Great job by the Australian. The Gian Antonio, Aldeguer, Mir and Quartararo then have gone directly into Q2. Missing out by a whisker with Binder in 11th, just half a tenth back. 6th Q1 appearance in the last 11 Grand Prix. Pecco Bagnaia, that does not make a pretty read, doesn't it, for the Italian as he sort of glares at the screen inside the Ducati Lenovo garage. Bagnaia ending that session in 14th place. Wasn't a million miles back of that top 10, to be fair to him, just over a tenth of a second back. We mentioned this morning how tight the competition can be around this compact Ricardo Tormo circuit. Well, poor Alex Rins down in 17th place, was just a whisker outside of 3/4 of a second behind Acosta, but nowhere near Q2. That's how close it was as Pedro Acosta delivers once again a top-notch performance, doesn't he, on the factory KTM. No wonder he's getting another great reception. Sebastian Rees there, technical figure behind the scenes for the massive Hoppers factory. The IO, the team manager, just waiting there in the background. 129.240 then. That's put Pedro Acosta top of our final Friday of 2025.
has the bit between his teeth this weekend. But it's not going to be easy for him to claim that first MotoGP victory because, as I mentioned, the field behind him super close, but it did appear as if Acosta had a little bit in hand there at the end of that session. Good return to form in some respects for Frankie Morbidelli, who has missed Q2 at 3 of the last 4 Grand Prix and actually been in 4 of the last 5 Q1 sessions. He won't be in it tomorrow though.
Yeah, that's a really good job that by Morbidelli. He once again got a little bit of scathing criticism. I think Frankie himself said it's now reputation of starting to get him some observers in terms of critics with some of his shenanigans out on circuit. So Frankie Morbidelli, third quickest ever day one in Valencia, belongs to Pedro Acosta.
Pedro Acosta with a 1:29.240, quickest by half a tenth, but in many respects it felt like he was more dominant than that. Seki took second ahead of Frankie Morbidelli, because Bez crashed early on. Alex Marquez fourth ahead of Ian Gora, who recovered from his own crash to take a stunning fifth. Miller sixth ahead of Gian Antonio Aldeguer, Mir and Quattararo. Despite some clear problems with his Yamaha early on in the session, he recovered to complete the top 10. Q1 then tomorrow will feature Binder, Raul Fernandez, Aleix Spargaro, Bagnaia at 14th. Ahead of Zarco, Marini, Rins, Vinales and Bastianini. Gustav Fernandez on the B4 Yamaha 20th, to second off the pace, ahead of Oliveira on the inline 4. Martin, who did go out at the end on used tyres, 22nd ahead of Songkat Chantra. And Nicolo Bulega, introduced to the harsh world of MotoGP, just 1.3 seconds off the pace, but P24.
Yeah, mega tight, wasn't it? And Bastianini down in 19th place, but not even a second behind fellow KTM rider Pedro Acosta. It's tight at the top, it's tough at the top, that's for sure, in MotoGP, as we get set to bid farewell to 2025. Acosta then, a 1:29.240, best time of the opening day here. Ricardo Tormo circuit. A long first run there on that hard front soft rear tyre from Pedro Acosta. Lots of key race information gathered from the Spaniard. When he was out on fresh rubber at the end of the session, he was on that third run, not the last run, where he put in that decisive 1:29.240 to top the pile.
He did go for a second time attack, but couldn't beat his first. Marco Bezzecchi, we saw had that crash at turn 4 earlier on in the session. He crucially did find the 29.2 himself when it mattered to take second.
Frankie Morbidelli, fast in Valencia, third fastest, 1:29.425. Good strong late end to the session for Frankie. Middle of that fourth run on a brand new soft rear tyre, cruising into Q2.
And Alex Marquez doing the same. He did a lot of his work on the hard front medium rear combination, putting plenty of laps on it. Best part of half race distance, so switching across to some brand new tyres at the end, and Alex Marquez claimed 4th place.
Who was quick in the splits? Marco Bezzecchi in sector 1 was fastest, just ahead of me and Acosta.
Bezzecchi maintaining his advantage in sector 2 with Morbidelli and Alex Marquez hot on his heels.
In the infield section, Pedro Acosta making the KTM work, not by much ahead of Agura and Bezzecchi.
Yeah, while the first half of the lap belongs to Bezzecchi and Aprilia, the second half of the lap clearly belongs to Acosta and KTM.
Well, that is day 1 in the books here in our final Grand Prix of the 2025 MotoGP World Championship. We really hope you enjoyed Secretary KTM boss Sergei Poncharal joining us ahead of his emotional farewell weekend in the MotoGP World Championship. And it's one of his former riders, one of his former stars, that takes the star performance on day 1. Pedro Acosta. Is this the weekend where he breaks his winning duck in MotoGP? Acosta fastest on our final Friday of 2025.
Deciding round. So the top 3 spread their way around. They are absolutely tied together, aren't they? They go through Police and through Mori. Just a little bit down on the inside. They can go side by side. And by Jones they do. That is potentially going to be a double champion.
massive pushing, full attack, dangles that right leg. And this is going to be a scare for Acosta in that first corner. He tips an RC16, throws it in on its side. Whoa! What a save! Look at that big dark line and that Michelin rear tyre that leads pretty much all the way throughout the whole of that first corner. Over the line he comes, and he finds the first 146 lap of the section. 6 lap completed. Oh, Marquez, he tucked the front big time there. He stays upright. Marquez, seconds after potentially seizing his first Ducati pole position with a 146.773, he's almost down.
The way that happened, his front tucked and he let go the brake. Look at he's holding it. Oh, fantastic. He wouldn't give up. Brilliant.
He's not lacking confidence. Wow, that was another showstopper. Look at this. That front properly tucks underneath Acosta.
Oh, looking at that one, he lost all the time. He lost a whole lot more.
He really did. That's the second massive save we've seen from Acosta. He made the beautiful one yesterday afternoon down the hill through turn 6 at La Chapelle. Whoa! Maverick, top save from the top gun. Look how he gets twice the rear steps out from underneath him. Now that is a proper scare, a proper high in the map moment for Maverick Vinales. Well, the rear tyre just drops off the edge of the curve there. And a bit of a moment here. Oh, beautiful. He didn't mean it, but...
It's, when it goes like that, you're along for the ride. And just hoping it comes back and comes back not too violently.
He has gone super sideways star there, hasn't he, Frankie? Not much more, and he would have got flicked off. Tell you what, that was a good save. Mark Marquez
Doing what he does so well.
Mark Marquez, look at his mechanics there were convinced they were about to have to do a repair job. How the heck did Mark Marquez save that? Well, it's because he's Mark Marquez. And look at that, he somehow fixed it up.
It is brilliant. That was great.
That's at turn 5 because Quartararo's in a long lap penalty loop there.
Yeah, he's lost the front or couldn't stop one or the other.
A good start as well from a good start for KTM. Third and fourth.
Tripped over something on his way back to his chair. So he brought a lap from his crew chief there, Daniele Romagnoli, as Martin nearly stacked it after he got off the bike. Into the back off, into a dangerous spot, what a save, Acosta, ball is in! That's a familiar sight, it's the black and gold celebrating early for LAFC. Malanga scores! He's a lead for Alter's third. Flips it towards White, deflects it, White!
Welcome back to HBF Park. We are just about to get underway in the second half. Adam Taggart with a couple of big opportunities and his link-up play with this man, Sebastian Despotovski, has been outstanding at the pointy end for First Glory. Alfie McCalmont has worked hard in the Central Coast Mariners midfield as his side looks to wrestle things back. Storm Roux playing game number 200 for the club. His defensive unit has been particularly busy. Not much to do for Matt Sutton though in the First Glory goal this evening. First Glory tonight have already had 4 shots on target, which is ahead of their season average of just 3.3. So 45 minutes into this one, and they are already further ahead of where they have been this season. And Harry Steele tries the long kick off, goes over the touchline, and it'll be a
a throw in for the Glory, deep in their own half. And Mulder alongside Daniel McBreen for this one in the west as round 4 continues. And Macca, Perth Glory would have been fairly confident in that half-time team talk with Adam Griffiths, but they haven't had a goal to show for it.
Yeah, exactly. I think he'll be asking for more of the same. Their press has been pretty good. Their midfield play through the thirds has been relatively good as well. It's just been that final pass, that final strike. Andrew Redmayne, has been forced into a few saves. On the other hand, I think Warren Moon will be asking his team to be a little bit braver in playing out and relying a lot on a long ball to try and go over the top of the Perth Glory press. Well, I'm sure that he would have asked maybe his midfield players to get a little bit better positions with their movement off the ball and be brave and try and play through the press. If they can start playing through the press, it might stop the press coming.
Right, Kaltak very nearly getting caught out there, but he had pretty good control of it. Now Brad Tapp can get in the way, going all the way back to Andrew Redmayne, but making the Mariners goalkeeper come a long way out. Redmayne is happy to put that one over the touchline for a throw. That ball possibly could have been a little closer to the goalkeeper there, and now this gives an